Welcome back. It's 2:30 and our next session is Personal Finance Hybrid Forever? And we have two amazing guests to discuss this topic today. We have the co-founders of Selma Finance and of Neon, Mr. Patrik Schaer and Youssef. Welcome, guys. Thank you so much for coming to the studio today. And the first thing that I'd like to do is actually, can you run a little bit of an introduction, explain who you are and what you do, or what your business does?
Sure. I'm Patrik, as you said. I'm a co-founder of Selma Finance. We're a digital financial assistant. So we help people keeping their money and their wealth in order and in good shape.
I'm Youssef. I'm a co-founder of Neon Switzerland. I'm responsible for product development and tech at Neon.
Okay.
And at Neon, we offer the best mobile-only bank account in Switzerland.
Excellent. So both of your companies are quite. I've had quite a lot of press in the Swiss market, in the press, and we're very excited to have you today. Maybe if you could share some numbers to make people understand how many users have switched to your companies and are handling their personal finances with mobile solutions or online solutions.
So we are currently managing money for around 8,000 people. And it's grown a lot. So when we look at the numbers, so when we see before the pandemic that we had, it was only like 1,500. So we've grown around 6 times throughout the pandemic.
Wow!
And it's not over yet.
Okay. And do you think this growth was facilitated by the pandemic, or do you think your product was getting anyway excitement on the market and it would have happened regardless?
So both. It was certainly not negative for us, because for us it's good when people are at home and when they're doing home office. And so what's not very good for us is when there is summer and nobody thinks about finance, but they think about going to the pool and playing with the kids. And so certainly helped in a certain extent. And then in general, money and online money was a topic, and investing was a topic.
It was such a finance thing to say when you said, we don't like summer, people are having too much fun.
Summer. We do like summer.
They should be home and focus on work and their money. All right, so thanks, Patrik, for sharing some of these insights. And let's hear from Neon Bank. How many users are we talking about? And also, what was the impact from the COVID crisis?
So the story is extremely similar. And I did not make up those numbers. But pre-pandemic, we had about 15K clients, and now we have 85K. So it's exactly the same ratio.
Yeah.
And I think the story is also quite similar. As in, just before the pandemic, we had a pricing change. And like 2 weeks before the pandemic hit, we already saw a surge of new users.
Okay.
And that increased and held on throughout the pandemic. So I think it was a bit of a double whammy.
Yeah.
A really good new pricing model and the pandemic at the same time, and it was good for us.
So you were gaining some kind of momentum and then really benefited from the traction that online business benefited from during the pandemic. Okay. Yeah. So now a question that a lot of people in the finance industry are asking themselves: how have you guys convinced people to trust a mobile app when it comes to one of the things that is the dearest to them after their children, their personal finance? How have you made that miracle?
So, basically, I think it's same for us at Neon. So your money is always still safe with a bank, and it's safely deposited there in your name. But what people do need to trust us is with managing their money and organizing it in the right way, and that has to do with trust. And what has helped us there is being extremely transparent about what we do. Maybe something that banks usually don't do, and that has helped us a lot. And what helps, of course, is also that a lot of our growth comes from personal recommendations. It comes from people that have seen our product, that know us, and that recommend us to their friends and families.
Okay. So what do you mean, actually, how much transparency were you giving compared to banks? Was it in the detail of where the investments were going, or What are you talking about precisely?
Pretty much everything. So it's what we build, how we build our product, how people are invited in the product development. But then it also comes to pricing. So usual banks, they hide something on like page 10 of the term sheet. We don't do that. We're transparent of what we can build, what we don't build. We give a lot of insights about what's happening inside our business. So like it's the whole company basically.
So keeping a very transparent communication about your processes. What about you at Neon? I mean, yes, you are Neon Bank, but still you're a new bank, and it's hard to create the trust. And so how did you, especially when you're comparing to established Swiss banks that have a very high reputation, Switzerland is famous for banking. So how did you create that trust?
Okay, so first of all, to clarify this, we are not a bank.
Okay.
We have partnered with the bank, with Hypothekarbank Lenzburg, and that is probably also one element of trust, because all the money that the clients put into Neon accounts is protected by the Swiss Deposit Protection Scheme. So the money is as safe with Neon as it is with UBS.
Yeah.
That, I mean, so much for trust. From my perspective, clients do not decide to give money to a mobile app, but clients really, they pick the product that's best for them. And the best product is the most convenient, the most economic, the one with the highest transparency as well. That's a huge factor for us. And maybe also where the feel-good factor is the best. And all of this works in our favor.
Yeah. So that's actually you started to answer my next question, which is great. Easy transition for me is you have entered a space where you're competing against big giants, both on the deposit side, but also on the investment side. What was your strategy to compete with these businesses as you entered? So product was one element.
Then I go first this time. Product absolutely is one element. Interestingly, for product to have an impact, you need clients first who can tell your story.
Yeah.
So for us, public relations was huge. Also talking to many influencers. Like getting the first 1,000 clients was probably the hardest piece, because we needed to convince people to trust in this completely new company.
How long did that take to get 1,000, the first 1,000?
That was about 4 months.
4 months.
And it was a very intense 4 months.
Okay.
All hands on deck, and everybody was part of every activity. So that was very early stage startup life.
Okay. What about you, Patrik?
So I can confirm that also took us a lot of time to get even the first 100, because at one point we run out of friends and family. So,
okay.
and even for me, I still mention this as a milestone when we got the first paying client that we didn't know, and they got through our system. We were like, yeah, somebody actually wants this that we don't know. And then it's a lot about being consistent, having a product that matters, and then some of the growth then comes with the clients that you have. But obviously, we also have a partnership. We work with influencers, with partners. We also do a lot of I have to go on YouTube and tell about the company and things like that. So there is of course a big effort to bring that out. But I think what we have in comparison to the banks that have a brand name is that people really believe us, that for us the client is in the core and not all the other things, and that we build a product where we really care about our clients.
Yeah, I remember reading about both of your products extensively on these influencers that you were mentioning. So earlier we had a session on influencer marketing, but I think we're more talking about TikTok and Instagram and young people. But you reached out, I guess this is who you call influencers, the bloggers on personal finance. There was a lot of push there, but I think they were also happily recommending their products. It seems like there was a partnership, but they were also very impressed by your product. And to the point that I was wondering if you were advised by the same marketing people. So that was a big thing. And also, with both of your companies, I remember being marketed heavily as an expat, which was a little bit new to me. So is it fair to say that you had a strategy for the English-speaking population of Switzerland?
We did have a strategy for the English-speaking population. Like I myself was an expat in Denmark and in Finland, and I know how annoying it is and what kind of feeling you have when you walk into a bank and you feel like, okay, they might just speak Finnish, or you have a page where you give in all your personal information, and then you press enter, and then everything changes the language, and you don't understand a word anymore. So I think there is a value of the digital companies that expats they know to speak their language.
Yeah, so it was definitely a conscious decision on your side. And what about Neon?
For the expat, it was initially similar. We had a strategy explicitly to target expats, to really support other languages. We did this in the very first version. We already had support for all 4 languages.
For English, yeah.
Well, 4 languages, English, yes, Rheto-Romanian, not so much. It didn't really pay off. So yeah, we tried to do that. We did that. We found out that the pickup was not that great.
Okay.
And yeah, so we're doing that continuously, obviously, but we're focusing on the more classic segments.
Okay. Do you think the pickup was not that great because there were already products that expats knew, like Revolut, for example, that were available?
This could be one reason, and we're really guessing here, we don't know.
Yeah.
I think Revolut is a big factor. On the other hand, getting a bank account in Switzerland for an expat is not an easy enterprise. So once you have one, the stickiness from my perspective is really, really high. And new people entering Switzerland is a significant market, but it's substantially smaller than regular clients looking for a new bank account.
Okay.
Or actually also looking for a secondary mobile bank account with a very, very economical MasterCard. But I'd like also to go back to your first question.
Sure.
About the influencers, maybe the financial experts doing their own blog. These people really know the market. They really know what is the state of the art and what can realistically be done. And for us, this was also a way to dial in our product into the client's needs. And I think this got picked up upon. So it was not a we pay you to write positive stuff relationship. It was really more of a, hey, this is Neon, have a look, let's talk about it, and we will improve the stuff that you give us feedback on. And I think this is why it worked so well.
Interesting. So it was actually a partnership that helped you in the development of the product as well. Similar story with Selma, do you think?
Yeah, pretty similar. I think the financial bloggers, influencers in Switzerland, they work in a way that like if they don't like your product, they're not gonna like you can't buy them. So they test different things, and also the reviews that we see, they're pretty fair. So like there are different solutions, and there might be like people that like what we do, but they might also go to one of our competitors, which is fine because for us we're still also in a market where we, as the digital challengers, kind of develop the market together.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you your personal opinion on personal finance in general. Do you think that some personal finance decisions will always need a face-to-face interaction? I'm thinking of, for example, taking a mortgage. Or do you think that eventually, I mean, obviously you are set to believe that it will go more and more mobile, but do you think there are fundamental transactions that require a face-to-face interaction?
Some that are very specialized, but in my opinion, it's fewer and fewer. In the also when you look at financial advice, which is what we do, we still see a lot of the financial advice that can be digitalized, and that doesn't mean that we take that away. But a lot of people don't get that advice yet. So they get sold products, and that's not advice, and it's because they're not the millionaires that the banks care about. So for us, it's also building this financial advice in a way that more people have access to it and can benefit from it. And so I think it will some of those parts in pension planning, in mortgage, and so on. There will be more of that will be digitized over the time. And when it comes to very specialized cases that involve, I don't know, tax systems and things like that, the expat situation, there you will need specialized humans.
Yeah. Simon, do you agree? Do you see other situations where it could still need it?
I think the question is not, are there transactions where advice is always needed, human interaction? The question is more, are there clients who will need the human interaction? So if you pick mortgages, for example, that's the classic example where traditional banks say, hey, of course you need advice. Of course you need someone to take you by the hand and walk you through the process, because this is your house and you should really focus on the real estate you're buying and not on the financing process. And in fact, what we see in other markets is there's roughly a 50-50 split of people who go, yeah, just give me the cheapest rate. I don't care about the advice, and they do it online. And there's another 50% who actually need the comfort and human presence of someone. So for me, it's not about taking over the full cake. I'm quite happy with the 50% split of the cake, and I do believe this is going to happen. Okay.
But do you ever envision, maybe you're interested in different cakes once you've had a lot of one cake, do you ever envision to have a brick and mortar place for your business? The reason why I'm asking this is we're seeing actually in Zurich some bank branches who do not know what to do with their brick and mortar place. They've seen that some people, come less, so they've turned them into co-working spaces. Do you ever see a brick and mortar place for your business?
The question is, I believe the example is from Credit Suisse. Would Credit Suisse actually rent a space to create a co-working space? Or is it more like, we've got this banking branch, we don't really know what to do with it, let's try something new? And for me, really, it's the latter, and I don't think it's a case that's worthwhile.
Okay.
So to answer your question, no, we don't see that anytime soon.
Okay. And what about you, Patrik?
So, I mean, we explicitly have a lot of clients that don't want to come to a bank. They don't want to they like advice, and maybe also back to your question before. Some people in the process they need to talk about the human to the human, but it's not about the advice. It's about gaining trust and knowing that somebody's there, and to have that feeling. This is not just a black box, but there are real people like us here, right, behind those companies, and they're something that you can touch and feel, and that we do give to people, but we do it more in cool events and with where people can interact with us in different way. I don't think that it needs a classical bank where you can go and where you need to make an appointment at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and you need to dress up and talk very smartly to I think that's not the way. So that the interaction to a certain extent you need that to gain trust and to show that we're real humans. It's not just the robots and the algorithms, but you don't need that very classically. And we see that with other companies that have, they've just turned it like Apple with the app stores or and things like that. We're looking at, but it's more about being able to interact with clients in a different way.
Okay. Thank you so much. It was very insightful, very interesting to have these conversations about product and how you think about clients and users. Definitely, I can see why your two businesses have been very successful here in Switzerland. It's a shame. I wish we could have talked for an hour, but we have a tight schedule. Thank you so much. I hope we can be having further conversations in the future. This was Patrik Schaer from Selma Finance and Simon Youssef from Neon. Not bank, just Neon. So, see you next time, guys. Thank you for joining. And we'll be back in a minute to have a conversation about security with my colleague Christian Breaker, who will be interviewing. Stay tuned. We'll be back in a minute as we do the transition of the guests.